You're killing your garden bed if you do this. 5 mistakes you must avoid. There's a hidden enemy lurking in your garden beds, silently sabotaging your plants. Every season, countless gardeners watch their dreams of lush, productive gardens wither away, not understanding that they're unknowingly committing plant murder. The truth is, even experienced gardeners make these devastating mistakes that can turn thriving garden beds into plant graveyards. Today, we're exposing these 5 common yet deadly errors that could be destroying your garden beds right now, and more importantly, showing you exactly how to fix them before it's too late. Your garden bed isn't just dirt where you stick plants and hope for the best. It's a living ecosystem that either nurtures your plants to incredible abundance or slowly strangles them to death. When your garden beds are healthy, they become powerhouses of productivity, delivering bountiful harvests, stunning blooms, and plants so vigorous they practically grow themselves. But when these beds are compromised by the mistakes we're about to discuss, you'll find yourself in an endless cycle of plant replacements, disappointing harvests, and frustrating failures that make you question whether you have a green thumb at all. Mistake number 1. Creating a waterlogged death trap with poor drainage. The number 1 garden bed killer is poor drainage, and it's happening in more gardens than you might think. When water can't properly drain from your garden beds, you're essentially creating a suffocating environment where plant roots drown in stagnant water. This happens when soil becomes compacted from foot traffic-heavy machinery, or simply from years of settling without proper amendments. Compacted soil doesn't just hold too much water, it also prevents oxygen from reaching the roots, creating an anaerobic environment where beneficial microorganisms die off and harmful bacteria thrive. The signs of drainage problems are often mistaken for other issues. Plants may appear wilted even when the soil is moist, leaves might yellow and drop prematurely, or you might notice a sour smell coming from the soil. Root rot, which is honestly one of the most devastating plant diseases, thrives in poorly drained conditions and, well, can spread throughout your entire garden bed. To fix drainage issues, you should start by testing your soil's drainage capacity. Dig a hole about 12 inches deep and fill it with water. If water remains after 24 hours, you've got a drainage problem. The solution usually involves incorporating organic matter like compost, aged manure, or leaf mold into your soil to improve its structure. For severe cases, consider installing drainage tiles or creating raised beds that allow excess water to drain away naturally. Adding coarse sand or perlite can also help, but avoid fine sand, which can actually worsen compaction. Your soil might look rich and dark, but, appearances can be deceiving. Nutrient depletion is a silent killer that weakens plants over time, making them susceptible to diseases, pests, and poor production. Many gardeners assume that if they planted successfully last year, their soil is still good to go. But the reality is, plants are constantly extracting nutrients from the soil, and without replenishment, your garden bed becomes, well, a nutritional wasteland. The symptoms of nutrient deficiency really vary depending on what's missing. For example, nitrogen deficiency shows up as yellowing leaves starting from the bottom of the plant, while phosphorus deficiency causes poor root development and delayed flowering. Potassium deficiency leads to weak stems and poor fruit development, and honestly, without regular soil testing, you're gardening blind, potentially over-fertilizing some nutrients while critically lacking others. The solution starts with annual soil testing, which you can do through your local cooperative extension office or with a reliable home testing kit. Based on these results, you can address specific deficiencies rather than guessing. Incorporating a 2 to 3 inch layer of compost annually provides slow-release nutrients and improves soil structure. Organic fertilizers like fish emulsion, kelp meal, or bone meal feed both plants and beneficial soil microorganisms. For long-term soil health, you might want to consider planting cover crops like clover or winter rye during off-seasons. These crops, fix nitrogen and add organic matter when they're turned under. Mistake number 3. Planting in the wrong light conditions. Light is the fuel that drives photosynthesis, yet, honestly, a lot of gardeners treat it as an afterthought. Planting sun-loving vegetables in shady spots or shade plants in blazing sun, well, it creates stress that weakens plants and makes them vulnerable to every other problem. Insufficient light leads to leggy, weak growth as plants stretch desperately toward any available light source. Leaves may be pale or yellowing, flowering is reduced or absent, and fruit production is, severely compromised. Conversely, plants that receive too much intense sun may show scorched leaves wilting during the hottest parts of the day and stunted growth as they struggle to cope with excessive heat and light. To avoid this mistake, spend some time observing your garden throughout the day and across seasons. Note which areas receive morning sun, afternoon sun, or are shaded by structures or trees. Most vegetables need 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight, while leafy greens can tolerate some shade. If you have limited sunny space, it's a good idea to prioritize it for your most sun-dependent crops like tomatoes, peppers, and squash. For shady areas, you can really embrace shade-tolerant plants like lettuce, spinach, and herbs like parsley and cilantro. Mistake number 4. Suffocating your soil with improper mulching. Mulching is often presented as a gardening cure-all, but honestly, incorrect mulching can actually harm your plants more than help them. Many gardeners actually apply mulch way too thickly, too close to plant stems, or sometimes even use the wrong materials, and honestly, that can create more problems than it solves. Volcano mulching, which is when mulch gets piled up high around plant stems, is especially damaging because it traps moisture right against the stem. That encourages rot and, gives pests a perfect hiding place. Using the wrong mulch materials can also create issues. For example, fresh wood chips can temporarily tie up nitrogen as they break down, and certain mulches like grass clippings can actually form an impermeable mat that keeps water and air from getting down into the soil. Some gardeners, without realizing it, use mulch that contains weed seeds or has been treated with chemicals, and that can end up harming beneficial soil organisms. So the key to effective mulching is to apply a 2 to 3 inch layer of the right organic material and, just make sure you keep it several inches away from the plant stems. Good mulch options honestly include shredded leaves, straw, aged compost, or properly composted wood chips. Avoid using fresh grass clippings unless you can apply them in thin layers and let them dry out between applications. The goal is to suppress weeds, retain moisture, and slowly add organic matter to your soil while allowing air and water to penetrate freely. Mistake number 5, watering wrong and wondering why plants die. Watering seems straightforward, but honestly, incorrect watering practices probably kill more plants than any other single factor. Many gardeners either water too frequently with shallow applications or water inconsistently, creating a cycle of stress that weakens plants and makes them susceptible to diseases and pests. Shallow, frequent watering encourages roots to stay near the surface, making plants vulnerable to drought stress, while inconsistent watering creates boom and bust cycles that stress plants and can cause problems like blossom end rot in tomatoes. Overwatering is just as deadly as underwatering. Soggy soil, drives out oxygen, suffocates roots, and creates perfect conditions for fungal diseases. Many gardeners water on a schedule regardless of weather conditions or plant needs, which often leads to waterlogged soil during rainy periods or, drought stress during hot, dry spells. The solution is deep, infrequent watering that encourages deep root growth and honestly, drought tolerance. So, the best time to water is early in the morning. This helps reduce evaporation, and it gives your plants plenty of time to dry out before evening, when, fungal diseases are more likely to develop. Here's a simple trick. Use the finger test. Just stick your finger about 2 or 3 inches into the soil, and only water if it feels dry at that depth. Installing drip irrigation or soaker hoses honestly can provide really consistent and efficient watering, all while keeping water off your plant leaves. During hot weather, it's a good idea to apply a layer of mulch to reduce evaporation and maintain more consistent soil moisture. Avoiding these 5 deadly mistakes really transforms your garden beds from struggling survival spaces into thriving ecosystems that practically grow themselves. When you provide proper drainage, maintain soil fertility, match plants to appropriate light conditions, mulch correctly and water wisely, you create an environment where plants can, reach their full potential. Remember, gardening is really an ongoing relationship with your soil and plants. It takes observation, some adjustment, and a good deal of patience. The most successful gardeners, honestly, are those who take the time to learn how to read their garden's signals and respond appropriately. Start by addressing the most obvious problems first, and then, gradually fine-tune your approach based on what you observe. It's a great idea to keep a garden journal to track what works and what doesn't. And honestly, don't be afraid to experiment with different techniques to find what works best in your specific conditions. Your garden beds, they have incredible potential just waiting to be unlocked. By avoiding these common mistakes and implementing the solutions we've discussed, you're definitely well on your way to creating the abundant, beautiful garden you've always dreamed of. If you found this guide helpful, make sure to subscribe to Smart Garden for more practical gardening wisdom. And hey, don't forget to share this video with fellow gardeners who might be unknowingly making these same mistakes. Together we can create a community of successful gardeners who know how to nurture thriving garden beds that produce incredible results year after year.